I once asked Billy Graham if he ever thought of divorce. And he said, divorce, never. Murder, yes.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things.
With Shawn and Andrew.
A podcast all about couples.
And the things they go through. We have been through a lot, speaking of that.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. This is our first live intro that we've recorded since having our second child.
Yeah, so if we forget how to do this, don't blame just blame the kid.
We have content all about that whole journey coming soon. But by the way, how good does Shawn look right now? You look A+.
I haven't showered yet.
For less than a month out.
I haven't brushed my teeth today.
Are you talking about today or since the baby you haven't showered?
Just today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, what a treat we have with us today.
Yes, I loved this interview. We have Marlo and Phil Donahue.
That's right. Marlo Thomas and Phil Donahue are married. And this is probably, they are the biggest celebrities, I would say, we've had on the show to date. We've had a lot of kind of like young, famous people, if you will. We've had a lot of really insightful professors and other kind of academia world people. But Marlo Thomas and Phil Donahue are legends. Phil Donahue hosted the Phil Donahue Show for years. He won 20 Emmy Awards. And Marlo Thomas was an actress whose father founded St. Jude's Children's Hospital, and she is the national outreach director of. So between them, they are just like Hollywood elite. And I was so pleasantly surprised by our conversation because they're passionate about marriage as well.
They had so much wisdom, so many funny stories, and I felt like we could have talked to them for 4 hours, but got cut off at an hour, which was probably better.
Yeah, actually, we did. The conversation was longer than an hour. We got to chatting pretty good, but Phil was hilarious. Marlo was insightful. And the reason we were able to do this interview is because they recently came out with a book called What Makes a Marriage Last, where they sit down with a handful of couples, including ex-presidents and many people you would be familiar with, to talk about how they've made marriage work. So it fell right in line with what our show is about. And we're excited to share the wisdom that they have and also that they found through these interviews.
The coolest thing about this book is they talk about how it was all this like research and data was collected before the pandemic. So they got to travel all over the world and actually have dinner with all of these couples and just pick their brains about their relationships and why it has worked for them. Yeah.
So we will link information on the show down below if you want to check it out. We recommend it. It's good. And it's a good thing to just have lying around, you know?
Yeah.
Who doesn't need more marriage positive stuff, right?
Yes.
But I will say, shout out Mom. She was so pumped that we got to interview Marlo and Phil.
She was freaking out.
As was yours.
Yes.
This is a big deal. So anyway, thank you to Marlo and Phil for taking the time. And I hope you guys enjoy this interview with Marlo Thomas and Phil Donahue. Let's get to it. Well, Marlo, Phil, it is a true pleasure to have you with us today. I know that you guys have, done your fair share of talk shows, but I'm curious where your excitement and maybe nervousness level lies in joining us today on Couple Things.
Very nervous.
Very nervous.
I had to give him a pill.
Yeah. I was stuttering till about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I bought my Coke, so I'd be sure to, be
okay. That's good news. I am always nervous and self-conscious, or maybe more self-aware when I interview, well-versed people such as yourself. I know, Phil hosted your own TV show for however long, and I feel like you should be the one asking the questions, but here we are. So
he would prefer it, believe me. He's a very reluctant interviewee. You're going to have to drag it out of him.
I will say it's not intimidating at all to see all of the awards just strung out on the walls behind you guys. It is truly an honor for us.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, this is my study, and we don't put up any professional things in our house, except in our own little study. So in our living room, our family pictures and all that kind of thing. But this is the room where we get to show off. And Phil has a study upstairs where he has his 20 Emmys. I only have 4.
I wanted to put my Emmys outside of the elevator door. And then people would have to step over them, and I would say, who left these things here?
Yeah.
And Marlo decided that probably wasn't a good idea.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Maybe you could hang them from like the entryway door so people hit their head on
Yeah,
them
and
on the
then
way in.
Yeah.
They bumped
Yeah.
their heads and
Yes.
They
I'd
know
say,
who you were,
who
damn
left
it.
these here?
Well, congratulations on your upcoming 41st wedding anniversary.
Thank you.
As we were speaking before, so honored to be speaking with you both. And I know you just have a book that came out. It's called What Makes a Marriage Last. You have your Double Date podcast. I'm curious, what inspired both the podcast and the book?
You want to take that, Chief, or should I do that?
You do it.
Okay. Well, and around our 39th wedding anniversary, a couple we knew quite well was getting a divorce. And we thought, wow, they've married 28 years. Why, in fact, another couple that we know at 23 years just got a divorce. So it was like, how do you discover that after 28 years? It's weird enough when people are married 3 years and they get a divorce. It's like, you didn't even give it a chance. Or you give your car more of a chance than that. So, so we started talking about it. What did they do wrong, and what do we do right? And how did this? What is it that makes a marriage last? And we were talking to each other about, well, what do you think it is? Is it that we have the same goals in life? We were raised the same as Catholic kids. We started to sort of investigate our own. We hadn't thought about that. And then I got this brilliant idea that we should do a book about and interview a lot of people who were married over 20 years. Some of them were married, like Billy Crystal was married 50 years. President Carter and Rosalind are married 74 years.
Wow.
And then we put a couple of like 18-year marriages just to see the younger people, what they thought. And so we went out on this journey and we loved it. And then we thought it's really not better, but it's kind of exciting to hear the interplay between the couples, to hear how the husband and wife talk to each other, and then how they, relate to us. And Phil said, all right, I'll do it, but I'm not talking about our marriage. Because we never had. But, when you've been married 39, 40 years, you just say, okay. But then once he got there, he did. And I think you did because you wanted to encourage them, right?
Well, we found out that when we talked about our marriage, it like blew the doors open, and they talked about their marriage. And it was a very interesting, it changed the whole interview. And the interview was different because it was 2 and 2. I mean, I spent one-on-one for how many years?
29
years.
6,000 hours.
Wow.
Oh my God.
He asked the questions and he didn't answer any questions. And that was, but it's true. Many people, reporters, asked us, how did you get people to talk about those things? I could never have gotten them to talk about that. And I think it's because we didn't go there as reporters. We went to their homes all over the country. We went to Boston and San Francisco and LA and Florida and God knows where, Toronto, to interview Elton John and David Furnish. We went all over the place, but we were meeting them as we are meeting, one married couple talking to another married couple. So it wasn't like a gotcha kind of thing. Nobody was worried that, we were going to try to get them or be afraid of their quotes and, that they'd be misunderstood. It was that's what we called a double date, because it really was.
Well, so tell me this. We just had our 5-year anniversary and everyone's like, oh, it's easy from here. You guys got it figured out. But then I hear stories of people who have been married 28 years and get divorced. What happens when you are married for that long and you separate? What do you attribute that to?
I think they stop listening to each other. I mean, really listening. Not so much that they're not talking. Your spouse, is telling you things and you're not taking it really in. When Phil tells me that he's unhappy about something or something is bothering him, sometimes I just go on to the next thing. You have to really listen so that who is this person and what is the pain they're going through? What is I'll give you an example. After we'd been married about 10 years, Phil had something he wanted to tell me. And he said, I want to tell you something, and I don't want you to do anything but listen. I don't want you to fix it. I don't want you to give me any advice. I just need to tell you this. It wasn't about us. It was about something that was going on with him. And so I said, okay, that's easy. Now I'm a fixer. If you tell me something that's wrong right now with you, I mean, in 10 minutes, I'm calling somebody to get that fixed.
Yeah.
So it was, sort of characterologically hard for me. But anyway, he told me this thing. And my first impulse was to call somebody to fix this. And I realized that that isn't what he wanted. And I had to really stop myself from making it better. Because all he wanted was to unload it on a person that he trusted and loved and who loved him, just to get it out, but not to be told what to do or be advised or to do anything about it. That was a big moment for us. It really was. It was what he was saying was, listen to me, have empathy for me, and that's all, and love me through it. That was hard for me because I wanted to fix everything.
Yeah, I think for us, when we started this podcast and started talking to other couples, one of the things that really inspired us was we wanted to get married and we wanted to last forever. But I felt like the world was so filled with media and headlines and tabloids of no marriage lasts, nothing is perfect, and nothing can be forever. And I love having these conversations with you guys who have been married 40 years, almost 41 in your marriage. And we have so many people telling us, oh, it's unhealthy to fight and it's unhealthy to argue. And if you disagree about something, it must not be the right person.
It's unhealthy not to fight. If you don't fight, forget it.
I love that.
You have to fight.
I love that.
You have to fight. Try not to fight dirty, but, fight.
Well, rumor had it that in your 41 years of marriage, you guys had never had a fight.
Yeah.
You're saying that's not true?
Are you kidding? Oh.
I once asked Billy Graham if he ever thought of divorce. And he said, divorce, never. Murder, yes.
Is that a true story? No. Is that true, Phil?
I'll tell you the thing.
I love that.
That's the best thing to ever come from our show.
People who don't fight are suppressing their anger or they're withholding. Sanjay Gupta talked about that. He would withhold how he felt, and he'd get more pissed off that she couldn't guess what was wrong with him. And I said, well, why would you assume she could guess what's wrong with you? He said, well, I was being passive aggressive. It took me a while to realize that was a passive aggressive thing to do. You got to say, hey, this hurts. This makes me feel bad. The thing you learn through the years, just from reading and talking, was we've never been in marriage counseling, but a lot of the couples that we spoke to had been. And it's a great thing to do if you need it.
Well, I think it's the number one. I love you. I mean, to actually commit to marriage counseling, I think says, I love you and I want to stay with you.
Well, why didn't we ever do it?
Well, we didn't have that many, did we? We didn't have that many.
Well, we had a lot of fights. We fought a lot. We're both type A personalities and we both ran our own shows. So I was used to being a boss and I was bossy, and he was used to being a boss and he was bossy. And so, he wanted it to be a certain way. I wanted it to be a certain way. And we really had to give. John McEnroe's wife, Patty Smythe, she said at one point, because they both are very fiery, the two of them. Well, John McEnroe, you've seen him on the court. I mean, he's yelling F you at the umpire, and she's very feisty too. And she said at one point, I realized, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? So I want to be happy. So I want to let this go. The hell with it. And so you learn that after a while, that some of these fights are just so idiotic. What was it that James Carville told us?
He did. He said, when you find yourself in a round and round argument where you said, no, I didn't, you said, I said, you said, kick that can down the road. Now it sounds so.
It's great though.
So superficial. And, but I remember a week later, we were arguing and I said, oh, let's kick that can down the road. And we both started laughing.
And it's true.
There's a lot of cans down the road, but it does it moves the ball somehow, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, what do you mean when you say that? Like just defer that conversation or
Yeah.
just
Or forget it. It's stupid.
Yeah,
You know,
Mhm.
you're going to say, you said you were going to take. No, you said, no, I remember. No, you did. You could have. And it goes on, and it's ridiculous. And you're in that place where everybody has to be right. And then you finally just say, oh, the hell with it. Just kick it down the road.
Okay, but what if we don't have as good a sense of humor as both of you do? And when we're in the moment, we get tied up and we can't think of like a funny way to end the conversation, like by saying, let's kick this can by the road.
Then go make love. Go make love.
Okay, just jump right to it. Okay.
Go on, just go on. But you're going to end up there anyway. So, have your makeup sex before you have in the middle of it. I mean, when you realize, what the hell was that about, really? And we talked to Arlene Alda and Alan Alda. They've been married, I don't know, 60 some years. And they used to fight all the time and everything. They had 3 little kids. He was traveling all the time for his career. And she felt that she wasn't getting what she wanted out of her career because he was so busy. And she said they used to fight a lot. She said, when I look back at it, she said, I can't put my finger on what we fought about. It was something, but it just wasn't median.
That's an interesting relationship. Alan Alda, I mean, he can't walk down the street anywhere in the world without being recognized. But their relationship began, he was a cab driver. And he used to bring home his money. Fives and $1 bills and put them in a basket on the table. And she would take the money and separate it according to.
She put them in little envelopes that said rent, food, utilities. The thing is they were a team, and you really are a team. If you don't see yourself as a team, then that's the ball game. You're the team, and I want him to have everything he wants. That's another thing. People don't really invest in the other person's dream. I from the very beginning, and 41 years is a long time. So Phil was in his career, I was in my career. And it took a lot out of each of us because we had these gigantic careers. And the thing is that I wanted him to have everything he wanted out of life. And he wanted me too, to have what I wanted. My dream was important to him, and his dream was important to me. And if that's true, if you really want that, and one of you isn't being like, hey, listen, I'm the this, I'm the that. If you're into that, if you're selfish, your marriage won't last.
Well, and I know another piece of advice that both of you have given in previous interviews is that both individuals have to be invested in it together. And I think that's absolute gold. But I'm curious. So you've interviewed Jimmy Carter and his wife, Ray Romano and his wife, Sting and his wife. I mean, the list goes on. You have George Stephanopoulos, Rodney Peete. I'm curious, of all the couples you've sat down and talked with, is there one relationship where you're like, wow, they do things way different than anything we've ever seen?
I don't know whether they do things way different, but each couple was a very singular. I mean, each couple had to overcome something that the other couple
There's
had.
No such thing as the rice and the white dress and the
clear sailing.
And everything moves smoothly. Everybody falls in a mud puddle sooner or later, some more than one, whether it's with children, with each other, with careers.
Career Sedgwick and Kevin Bacon are actors. They saved $30 million. That's hard to do as an actor. And it was in savings. And they gave it all to Bernie Madoff, and they lost it all. Michael J. Fox, 3 years after his marriage, their marriage, he came home and told his wife he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. I mean, whoa, 3 years into marriage, and then Jesse Jackson cheated on his wife and had a baby with another woman. I mean, these are like, whoa, things that happen. And I said to Jesse Jackson's wife, Jackie, I said, did you throw him out? I would have thrown him out. She said, I did, but he came back. She said, he's not going anywhere. And she said an interesting thing. She said, this marriage is a test of my character. So she saw that her forgiving of him and putting the marriage back together was a test of who she was.
And he belongs to me.
And he belongs to me. and she made that commitment. So, Sting and Trudy were married to he was married to another woman, had 2 children. She lived next door. She wasn't married. She was living with Peter O'Toole, and they fell in love. Now, you fall in love with your neighbor, what could be worse? And they tried to avoid it for a couple of years, and finally they couldn't.
A kaboom happening in the middle. One afternoon, Lori Sullenberger's phone rang at her home, at their home. Your husband just landed his plane in the Hudson River.
Right. Yeah.
Now she's got media on the front lawn. The world has fallen on her house, on herself. And so it was an example. I see this as a kaboom, something that you weren't expecting at all.
And a lot from that. The husband could have become a real jerk because he's like the biggest guy in the world now. She could have been angry about what was happening to their lives, or turned upside down and lost their privacy. That event could have really ripped apart some couples. They couldn't have taken that kind of pressure from the outside. So it's, what do you do when this stuff happens? When we first started working on the book and then the podcast, I said, this really isn't a how-to situation. It's a what situation. What do you do when the ceiling falls in?
Okay, real quick break. Today's show is brought to you in part by Best Fiends.
Having a newborn is literally the best thing ever. I just get to snuggle with it all day, every day, and I love it.
There really is nothing like newborn cuddles. They're the best.
But I will say there is quite a lot of downtime between the naps and the feeding, and I've been hitting Best Fiends hard these past few weeks.
That's right. We took a little time off work, as we said, and we're able to focus on other things that we enjoyed doing, like Best Fiends. Shawn's gotten past, 50 new levels since we last spoke, and there are always new levels being added, so it honestly never gets boring. It's
perfect for when you need a break, but it also still challenges you. And I love that I can play it literally anywhere, anytime without the internet.
Without the internet. That's huge. I honestly need to step up my game. I got to try and catch up with where you're at right now, babe.
Good luck.
You can download the 5-star rated puzzle game Best Fiends for free today on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's Friends without the R, Best Fiends. We'll also link it down below. You were speaking of extended families and how the family situation could get complicated, like with Sting and Trudy. And Phil, I was looking at, I think the clip was from 1981. You did a segment on your show about what the new extended family looks like. And it was so powerful. You had 5 adults, I think, and 4 kids, and they had all been married or divorced, and it was just so interesting. But just to your point, it's not about the how you make it work, but it's the what. And anyway, I'll stop talking. I know you had a question.
No. So then the question I'm curious about is, again, within the generations coming up, everybody's trying to paint this picture of, if you follow these rules, if you don't make these mistakes, then it will work. It'll be the picture perfect fairy tale, and it'll all be wonderful. But my question is, you guys have interviewed some of the most amazing couples in the world. Again, married almost 41 years. I know every couple deals with things differently, but what is the big deal breaker? Or is there one? Is there truly nothing a couple can't get through if they're really willing to work through it?
Well, that's what I said about really listen. Keep that ear open. Keep your heart open. He's changing right now. So are you. In 4 more years, you're going to be different people. You're going to keep evolving and changing. If you don't, you're stupid people. We all evolve and change. You're going to want something different out of life. You need to be listening to find out, who is he? How is he changing? Who is she? How is she changing? And as I told you, that Tracy Pollan, Michael J. Fox's wife, said, give each other the benefit of the doubt. Don't say, he said that because he wanted me to feel this, or he didn't come home last night at the decent hour, because give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't be looking to jump on the other person. Step back, give some air. I'm not saying put up with crap. I don't mean that, but, give everything a chance, hear it out, before you jump on somebody. And the thing is, if you really like someone, you're probably better to your girlfriend or your pal, your guy pal. You're more forgiving. If your guy pal acts like a jerk one afternoon, you aren't gonna, turn your life upside down. If she acts like a jerk one afternoon, that's gonna really drive you crazy. And that's what I'm saying. Give your spouse as much room as you give your friends, because she is your friend and he is your friend.
And don't let jealousy get in the way of your relationship. That will wear you out.
Yeah, Phil was very jealous for many years. He would see things happening that weren't happening, and it really was upsetting. And my friends would say to me, "Well, that's flattering." I'd say, "It isn't flattering. Jealousy is not flattering. It's poison, and it also makes you the person that's the other person is jealous of. You can't stop it. There's nothing you can do that will make that go away. I wasn't doing anything. He was dreaming it, seeing it. I did a movie with Chris Christopherson, and he was sure I was going to have an affair with Chris Christopherson.
Can I be honest? Speaking of jealousy, I don't think I've ever experienced this feeling of vocal jealousy that I have of you, Phil. Your voice is gold. My gosh, it's perfection. I want it. I don't know what you did. If you got any tips for me,
your voice,
the tenor of your voice is just A+.
Huh? Well, thank you. You want my autograph? Thank you.
I agree. When he leaves a message for me on my phone, I always think, oh, I just love the sound of his voice.
Man, it's classic.
And that's another thing. There are things you love about each other. Appreciate that. That's a real, if you like the way she says something, or the way she walks, or the way she approaches other people, or whatever, how she makes pasta, enjoy that, savor that, let her know. And the same, don't take each other so for granted. That's why I say, if you're really listening to each other, then you're going to be getting the real essence of each other.
So let me ask you this. You guys have told your story of how you first met, and the clip of Phil, you interviewing Marlo, is classic, where there's just this electricity between you two. We've heard that. I also love your comment about you having an impure thought as a Catholic boy. Anyway, what I haven't heard yet is, what was the second meeting like? Let's talk about that. How did that come to be, and what was it like?
That was Denver.
Yeah, I did his show in Chicago, and then I left town and went to Denver. I was on a movie tour, promoting a film. I really would love to see you again. You were a great guest. So, all that kind of flattery about what a good guest I was. And he said, and I'd love to have dinner. I said, well, I'm in Denver. Is Denver very far from Chicago? He said, no, not at all. So he came to have dinner with me in Chicago. And
in Denver.
I'm in Denver. And that was it. That was it. It was a very sexy, romantic dinner.
Wow.
We stayed up all night.
Wow.
Have you been to Denver?
Well, I guess I need to go back, maybe. It sounds like, and go wherever you guys ate dinner.
We went to the Brown Palace Hotel.
Was that the name of it?
Yeah, the Brown.
It has
Palace.
a huge American flag in the center. It has an atrium lobby. Well,
we stayed up all night, and it was raining. And when he got back to Chicago,
I had no voice.
He had no voice. They did the show, and it was the first time in his entire career they couldn't play the show. And then go ahead.
Well, so one of the things on that note, it's interesting, Shawn way more than me, and both of us collectively way less than either of you, but, have experienced the limelight. Shawn with her Olympic success, me with the NFL, and really just being married to her. But we look at the peers that we're surrounded by in, the Hollywood culture. And it's like, how do we ask ourselves, how do we prevent ourselves from ending in divorce, from having some existential crisis, being addicted to drugs, and whatever the cliche result is there? How have you both dealt with that? I mean, with your tremendous success, was there ever conversations you had when, articles came out, or for better or for worse, something happened in the career? Do you have tips on how to navigate that when you have millions of eyeballs, that are evaluating your decisions?
Well, Phil's theory, I'm very sensitive and I'm very impulsive. As I said, I'm the one who goes for the phone. So I immediately want to speak out. Phil always was the guy who said, never complain, never explain, the hell with it. I mean, people said we were getting a divorce. We'd been married 6 months, and there were stories all over that we were getting a divorce, that we'd been to see a lawyer. And it wasn't true. We had not been to see a lawyer, but they put it in the paper. They're seeing lawyers. And it just broke my heart. And I said to Phil, why would anybody want to step up? This marriage is 6 months old. It's like a baby crawling. Why would anybody throw, darts at that? He said, the hell with them. Never complain, never explain. So we never did. We just said the hell with it. And we kept our marriage. We made a decision. Let's keep our marriage private. Let's not get out there. Let's not do any interviews about our marriage. And then after we were married like 40 years, we thought, well, they can't do anything to us now. What are they going to say? So we got over it. But we kept it private. We decided, we went on our honeymoon. We got married quietly in my parents' house. And then we went right to Greece. And nobody knew we were married after we got out of the country. When we came back, each of us had a very big career at the time. And so we were asked to co-host the Emmys and co-host the People's Choice Awards, be on the cover of People magazine. And it was kind of scary. It was like, what? And so we sat down and said, you know what? Let's not do any of it. Let's just say the marriage is not for sale. The marriage is not up on the auction block.
Tell them the story about the woman on the airplane.
Oh, yeah. We're on our way to Greece and Phil goes to the bathroom and this woman, I was very famous for being a single woman who never wanted to marry. When I was on the Donahue show, I was talking about the fact that I would never marry. So this woman says to me, yeah, right. I've got my, my engagement ring and my wedding band and I've only been married one day. And she says to me, are you Marlo Thomas? And I said, yes, I am. She said, are you married? And I'm like the blushing bride. Yes, we just got married. She said, oh, I'm so disappointed. Why would you get married? I was always able to say to my mother, Marlo Thomas isn't married and she's not crazy. Wow. So I tell Phil this when he gets back from the bathroom. He says, what woman? Where is she? It really felt terrible. But a lot of people, the point of the story is, a lot of people try to make you into something that they need. They try to make you into something that they want from you or that they expect you to be. And the hell with that. You're your own little team and you're playing your own game. It's completely different from anybody else's marriage, anybody else's ball game. And I think that's the beauty of finding the right person, that you then know, okay, this is us and we're going to make decisions that are right for us. We didn't want to become Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. We didn't want to become a professional couple because we felt that could kill us. That could get in the way of our privacy, of our genuine, private feelings.
Today's show is also brought to you by Athletic Greens. We've had some exciting news. I don't know when the news broke, but we actually invested in Athletic Greens alongside people like Lewis Hamilton, Cindy Crawford, Hugh Jackman,
wow.
And then us. Here we are.
Hugh Jackman.
That's right.
We are in love with this company. We are in love with everything that they stand for and their products, which we consume literally every day.
Athletic Greens is a daily ritual. We do it every day. It is one of our healthy habits that we have. And essentially what Athletic Greens is a greens powder that's full of essential nutrients that we need so that we can be our best for ourselves as well as our kiddos.
It is the easiest way to get the best nutrition. Just one tasty scoop of Athletic Greens contains 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients.
We really would highly recommend this product to anyone, especially people who have trouble finding time to eat healthy, i.e. parents. Athletic Greens makes it so easy and you're getting the best quality nutrition.
And right now, Athletic Greens is doubling down on supporting your immune system. They are offering our audience a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. If you visit our link today, you basically never have to buy vitamin D again.
Again, simply visit athleticgreens.com/EastFam and get your free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs today. We'll link it down below. Try it out and see why we love it. Let's get back to it.
I feel like we could listen to you guys all day and just like pick your brains on experience and relationships. But in raising a family together and having, your beautiful kids, what is the one thing you take away from your relationship that you want your children to know?
Let's see. I guess that we have faith that the other person is on our side, has our back. I know that Phil has my back. He is not out to get me or hurt me in any way. You know, as I said, I'm a very talkative person, as you can tell. Phil has to fight to get a word in. But sometimes we'll be out at a party and I'll come home and I'll say, "Oh God, why did I say that to Shawn? She really looked so upset when I said that. I shouldn't have said that. Oh my God." And Phil will say to me, "Oh, don't be crazy. You were the most interesting person at the party. Everybody loved you. That was cute that you said that." He doesn't let me spiral down. And you know, and that's important. That's important that somebody, you know, wants you to be okay. And I trust him for that. I have faith in that.
So I had 4 sons living with me.
Yeah.
When Marlo came into my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, you know, I was scared to death. I didn't know what to do with them. And, you know, when I would go off on the kids, they called it a spaz, 2 Z's. And I remember walking past Michael.
Yeah.
Michael's on the phone with this buddy. He says, "I'll have to call you back. My dad's having a spaz." And then what did they tell you?
Michael said to me, we like it when you're around. Dad has less spazzes when you're here. I took that as a great compliment.
Yeah.
And I know you guys have to be thinking, 41 years now, what can we learn from these 2 people so that, you know, we have that? And I think that, you know, love and listening and lust, you know, those are the big things in your life. And knowing that, you know, you're not going to lie to each other. You can tell each other the truth about it. You can trust that the other person's going to give them their best part of themselves. You know, if all he has in his mind is to make you happy, and if all you're trying to do is make him happy, then you'll both be happy. But if all you want to do is make yourself happy, he won't be happy. I mean, it's just, you know, and also accommodation is a big thing. We didn't know the name of that, but we learned it on the road talking to these people. And Judith Viors, who's a wonderful writer, she said, they've been married 60 years. She said, no matter how hard you try, he is never going to be you. And you are never going to be him. So that's a given. Now try to figure out, how do you allow him to be who he is without having it aggravate you? And how does he let you be who you are without aggravating? And we're very different. I'm this impulsive person, and he's this person who takes an extremely long time to come to the decision of what it is we're going to do.
I'm with you, Phil.
That's right. And that's
I'm the impulsive one.
Yeah. And that's a fight for us. You know, I'll say, come on, let's move. Let's do it. Well, I'm thinking, okay. So we've had to do, you know, live in that thing. And many times he'll say to me, I think you were right that we moved fast on that. And I'll say to him, you were right. It's a good thing we didn't do that. So we've learned to listen and see, is he right about this? Would it be better to wait? He has to say to himself, should we move on this? So we're listening without competing, without wanting to be right. It's what Patty Smythe said. You want to be right, or you want to be happy. And if happy is what you want to be, you'll stop being such a little prig about what you want and try to figure out, you know, she does have a good idea here. He could be right about this. Let's just talk it out.
So let me ask this. We've mentioned your many accolades. Phil, with your 20 Emmys, you've directed movies, the list goes on. Marlo, with your Emmys, with your Golden Globe, your Presidential Medal of Freedom. I'm curious, since you know each other so intimately, what is the award or maybe experience that you are most proud of the other person accomplishing?
I think that I'm proud of Phil for remaining such a decent human being. You know, this business of, you know, when I first met Phil, almost every woman in America wanted to marry him. I mean, he was hot and sexy.
Is that right, Phil?
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know. She told me.
They did. He was very, very popular, and he was single, And women who watched his show, thought he really understood women. He didn't really understand women. He just knew that women were smarter than most of the other people who did television shows.
The women who worked for me and most of my office during the time of the Donahue show were women. And they would all tell me that when a woman came on to me, I didn't know it. I mean, I guess I'm a typical Irish goof.
You're a sweetheart.
I didn't know it.
But with all this right now, we're hearing, Charlie Rose and Matt Lauer and all these famous men who misbehaved so terribly. And I said to Phil one day, you had 9 female producers and an entire female audience, and you were single, and you were always a gentleman. Mm-hmm. You were always a decent guy. How lucky for you that you were, because if you weren't, we'd be hearing all about it now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a real accomplishment in the world for a person to be very famous and have a lot of temptation and not act like a jackass. What is it? What do they call it? A occupational hazard. Yes. And a lot of men are that way.
Which leads us to your title that we found of you guys, which is America's Favorite Feminist Couple. I mean, how does one get that title, and the passion behind it? Where does it come from?
I don't know that we have that title, but I think I was born a feminist, because my father's Lebanese and was one of 9 boys, and they were very chauvinistic. And my mother was one of 5 Italian, 4 girls and a boy, and they were very chauvinistic, the men. So I grew up, knowing that I was going to have my own voice and nobody was going to dominate me. And I had to get rid of the feeling that if you're married, the man is going to dominate you. I had to figure that out, that he wasn't. We were going to fight about it.
I had a woman in my audience stand during the show to ask a question or whatever. And the woman in the audience was talking about bicuspids and molars. And I said, "Are you married to a dentist?" She said, "I am a dentist." And I said,
oink, oink, oink,
yeah,
oink.
So there were, yeah. I mean, it's amazing how much you can learn hanging around women who would come in and sit in the audience, and I would encourage them to take part in the show.
Phil, what are you most proud of Marlo for?
Well, I mean, her devotion to this marriage is pretty remarkable, and I admired her family too. Her dad and her mom. Rosie, her mother, and I were aces, and that's unusual for the Italian and the Irish. Somehow we got along great, but it was only recently that I learned about. I put Kitty Kelly on my program, who had written a biography of Frank Sinatra. I can tell this, right?
Sure. Everybody's dead.
I'm nervous.
Well, this was a real.
Yeah, she wrote really rough, nasty books about Elizabeth Taylor, Frank Sinatra. And Frank Sinatra was one of my dad's best friends. My father was the godfather to his son, Frankie Jr. So Frank called my father. And well, go ahead. It's your story.
And, put pressure on him to tell his son-in-law not to have Kitty Kelly on the program. And Danny, her father, said no. It was much later I learned this. And I thought, wow,
he thought more of Phil and Phil's integrity than he did of his friend, who's saying, "Help me out here. I don't want, just get her off the show." And he said, I can't do that. Yeah. Wow. Oh, bye-bye, sweetheart. We love you. Our house guests are leaving.
It's so fun it's always so fun when we interview couples to see how the dynamic is between the husband and wife and the two. And certainly this has been no exception. I'm not going to lie, Phil, coming into this, I thought talk show host, he's going to, steal the mic. But then Marlo, you both have such a good balance and you let each other, have their own space. So I appreciate that.
I will say we ask one question of every couple that we interview, and I'm most interested to hear what you guys are going to say. You guys have filled this entire interview with some of the best advice, but if you were to look back on your 41 years of marriage and 45 years of knowing each other, 44 years of knowing each other, what is the one piece of advice, the best piece that you have either been given or would give about relationships?
Oh gosh. One piece of advice.
Marlo, you've given so many, so I'm curious.
Yeah.
Well,
what do you think, Chief?
Well, thanks for throwing the ball to me. I think, kick that can down the road. Don't make everything a solemn high mass. Move beyond it. Whatever is troubling you at the moment is not going to change the orbits of the stars or the earth, and you're going to move forward. You're going to feel a lot less emotional about this tomorrow than you do tonight or today. And, a lot of people told us, enough people said this, that it stuck even in my brain.
And you are not going to change each other. You are not going to do that. And when we were first together, I would say the first 20 years of our marriage, we fought every time we traveled because I take way too much luggage. And I will admit it. I take too much luggage, but I can't help it. I simply cannot decide when we're leaving. I know I need 6 pairs of shoes. I don't know why, but I got to have this pair for this, and this pair is like fun and sexy. This pair is for cobblestones. This pair is if I want to need water. I got all these shoes. And he would fight with me and carry on the whole time in the car on the way to the airport. He would be saying to the driver, you realize that we're going away for like 10 days and we have 6 suitcases.
Well, and the tips. I mean, before we got on the plane, I was out of money.
And then we get to the baggage guy who could care less. And Phil would say to the baggage guy, do you believe all these bags and we're going away for 10 days? And he did it and he did it and he did it. And he would make himself miserable. And then I was miserable the whole day away in the plane. And then one day, sometime 20 years ago, I don't even remember, he stopped doing that. He finally said to him, what did you say? You told me, you said what? You said, I know, this is crazy. I can't get her stopped.
No, yeah, I knew that I was not going to change this thing that was making me crazy. So I kicked that can down the road. I finally moved on to worry about something else.
And I think that is probably the best advice. You are not going to change each other. So accommodate it. I mean, unless it hurts you, unless it's hurting you, let it go. And what's her name? Viola Davis said, she said, your marriage doesn't start when you walk down the aisle. Your marriage starts when you're sitting across from your spouse at breakfast and he does this thing that you really can't stand. And you think to yourself, I am not going to be able to live with this. And then you say to yourself, hey, I'm going to have to live with this. This is who he is. I love him. I'm going to have to take this into. And that's the truth. Because otherwise, it's just a fight all the time because he is not you. You are not him. And it's never going to switch where he is you and you're him. And it's never going to switch. I think that's the best advice.
I love that. That's gold. Phil, a professional question for you. How do you compare podcasting to your talk show? Do you enjoy it?
Well, this is easier because I'm with herself here. I mean, when you're alone, you've got to, and you're juggling, you got to catch all the balls yourself. So this is a lot easier because I'm with Miss Chatty Cathy here. who never runs out of something to say.
Who can? Hey, well, we so enjoyed our 53 minutes with you, and I wish we had more time. I know you guys have a wealth of knowledge, and if you listening would like to get more of that knowledge, you can purchase their book called What Makes a Marriage Last. The paperback just came out. It's on Amazon. We will link that down below. And also their podcast called Double Date is out anywhere you listen to podcasts. So I would be honored if you guys are ever in Nashville. We would love to host you. And likewise, you know, we would love to continue the relationship. So thank you so much for the time. And it was a pleasure to meet both of you.
Thank you.
I hope we were helpful. Hang in there. You're both so cute. I really hope you hang in there together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marlo.
Thank you. It was truly a great to hear all of your advice.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.